It's time to take a ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive with our co-hosts, Alan Saunders and Zachary Smith.
Welcome back to another episode of Steelers Afternoon Drive. I am Zachary Smith. That is Alan Saunders. Alan, the dynamic duo, back together for the first time on this show since last Wednesday. How we doing?
Doing good, man. Doing real good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. I saw the message you just now sent to the group about Jaden Reed doing a little bit worse now on my dynasty team. So not great news there. And also, I guess kind of Steelers related. If you thought we're holding out hope that the Packers were going to move one of those receivers to the Steelers. So I put a little bit of a damper on my mood literally right before we started recording here, but I've been doing well other than that. Shout out to Hunter Homestead and DB, of course, holding down the fort while you were gone. And if you watched the Steelers post-game show on Saturday, Alan and I were back together in that format, had a lot of fun with the live chat and everything going over the Steelers preseason win over Jacksonville. We'll rehash some of that conversation on here today. But Alan, did you just have one flight canceled today, or what was, because you were still planning on being at practice today? That couldn't happen because of flight delays, but was it just one, or what happened there with your travel?
Yeah, I was supposed to fly out last night, got canceled, and wasn't able to get out until this afternoon. So there you go.
Well, shout out to Brendan Howe for holding down the fort at practice. A lot of good stuff coming out over there. Of course, stay up to date with everything that's going on over at the site. One thing that came out of today's practice that no one needed to necessarily be there for to see the news of was Darius Slay going down with an ankle injury. And I mean, it didn't make it seem like it was too much of anything there, but obviously anytime something like that happens, it's something to monitor. And not only the injury itself to Darius Slay, but you kind of see guys get other opportunities. And we saw, for the first time, really, Eckles move inside at times today as well. So, what's your take on that overall? And again, this doesn't seem like to be something serious with Darius Slay, but just something to monitor.
Well, I've been thinking all along that we should be seeing some Brandin Echols at the slot.
Sure.
I expect him just to be a slot corner. I'll be honest, I've been floored by how well he's played on the outside. So him playing in the slot doesn't come as a surprise to me. I will say I think it coming right after what I thought was a pretty rough game for Beanie Bishop on Saturday is probably not a coincidence. You had Eckles out there. You had Joey Porter in teamwork out there. You could have very easily lined them up, Porter, Eckles, Bishop, and rolled them out there. The Steelers going Porter, Pierre, Eckles, to me kind of tells you a little bit about the thought process of the coaching staff at the bottom of that cornerback room. Talked about the cornerbacks a lot this morning on Morning Rush. I felt at that point Beanie's spot was pretty secure. I still kind of feel that way, but Brandin Echols emerging as a legitimate threat to not only be the top backup at outside cornerback, but also potentially inside cornerback is the one thing that could make Beanie Bishop's spot on this roster not so secure.
Yeah, I'm curious about, okay, so this is one day, obviously, where you didn't have Jalen Ramsey, where Slay goes down, and you kind of have to readjust your plans there. But yeah, that didn't have to be the path forward for the rest of practice today, and it was. So I'm just curious now going forward, if we start to see him more in the slot, then I think it could become more concerning for Beanie Bishop, especially when we do this joint practice against Tampa Bay. I think could be very telling in terms of like what the deployment is like there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's going to be an issue for Slay that's going to keep him out of a regular season game, but like we're going to get to learn about what the Steelers think coming up here Thursday, coming up here Saturday in terms of who plays where. If they roll out a starting lineup of Porter, Eckles inside, James Pierre outside, I think you got to put Beanie Bishop back on the roster bubble at that point.
Yeah, I would agree. It was also Beanie was very polarizing, I would say, like the performance, just because I saw you obviously gave your assessment of what he looked like. And I'll be honest, for me, I kind of have to like go back and watch. The only thing that I'll say is like, a couple, like he had 2 pass breakups and they were both on just like really lousy throws that the one probably should have been a touchdown if it was a better throw. That is how much separation the guy had. So, but like I saw a lot of people talk about the pass breakups that he had and just saying like it seemed like he was flying all over the place. And then obviously your assessment of him very different from that. So like just the reaction to that first preseason game, even on Beanie Bishop, was pretty polarizing.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think he was very good. He got truck sticked on a 4th down play by not that big of a wide receiver. There's another tackle that's kind of downfield and not like crisp. Got beat a couple times where the ball didn't go his way necessarily, and then got beat a couple times where it did and wasn't really made to pay for it. But yeah, I didn't think he was very good. In fact, one of the very few Steelers in that game that I did not think was very good.
Well, okay, so we obviously talked a bit on the post-game show about this, but I was just curious if there was anything. I mean, there's some things for me certainly that I can bring up here, but I was just curious, if having a couple days to digest it, maybe going back and watching anything from it, you have any thoughts that you didn't have right after the fact?
No, I mean, I got to be honest, I don't do like a ton of rewatching of these. The one area I did go back and look at was the reps from the first team offensive line, just because live, I feel like that's something that's very hard to, it's hard to follow. So I came out of that game with the impression that I thought Broderick Jones and Troy Fautano did pretty well. I did go back and watch all their reps. I left that rewatch thinking they did actually very well, maybe better than I thought initially.
Yeah, and even
I thought they were really solid.
Something we talked about with the run blocking, that was more so down the roster guys. If you really think about it, I mean, they had 3 rushing attempts with that first group, and they had 12 yards, so 4 yards per carry with that first group. I mean, that's not obviously like an earth shattering number, but it's not like they were struggling to move with that first group either. It was more so when you got into again, I don't want to keep harping on this guy, but when you had like the Doug Nesters and Max Sharpings out there was where I think that really came to fruition. So I think for like a preseason game it's interesting because like when we were doing the post show, and I'm not taking away from the audience at all, like whatever you guys want to talk about, we're going to talk about, but it seemed like they were getting like real nitpicking when he talked about everything negative, when in reality, to me, this was probably as good of like as a preseason opener as you could have hoped for from what you wanted to see.
Yeah. I mean, I can't really recall very few real negative play. Like preseason football is a slog. Like there's supposed to be a bunch of dumb penalties, a bunch of missed opportunities, things that go wrong. There was none of that. It was a pretty well played game, and I think that's really like to me the big thing that really matters. Like they went out and operated effectively in the first preseason game without most of their best players. So that's pretty good place to be.
Something that I wanted to see and wasn't necessarily like honestly brought up a lot through the week by me at least, or I don't even know if we talked about it on here whatsoever, was just like physically what Cole Holcomb was going to look like. And that was something that we talked about in there. And it's not like it was a ton of snaps or anything like that necessarily, but just like the way that he was moving in space, I think was it answered some questions for me about what he was going to be like. Again, I haven't been up there seeing him every single day and what he's physically looked like. So getting that game action under his belt, albeit in the preseason, just seeing what he would look like back in that setting, I think was just another box checked in terms of like, yes, he is still checking boxes in the rehab because he hasn't played a game in so long. And that was another one of them for him to check. Yeah,
I think he's been pretty good. I don't know what the role is going to be. He's still pretty much up in the air, but like, looks solid out there for sure.
There were certainly people though, like even though you're saying that about the role, I think there were some people that were considering him like on the bubble. And I'm not saying I never necessarily fell into that. Like as long as he was back physically, I felt like he was going to be on the roster. But I think certainly with the way that he looked, again, it's answering questions that we had. So I would consider him certainly somebody that's on this roster. I think another thing that we talked about as well was that is the way, even though it wasn't like right on the goal line or inside the 10-yard line, that's still to me the way to use a Darnell Washington is the way that they ripped him up the seam there and getting him those mismatches. I mean, that's like an overthrow to pretty much everybody else except for Darnell Washington, but it's perfect for him. And again, it's not making him like decelerate because that's where he has trouble. Like, if you're asking him to turn, it takes him forever. Just get him going up the seam and build that straight line speed, which is where you see that athleticism that everybody feels like is being underutilized on display. So again, while it wasn't like a goal line fade or anything like that, I think that is a way that you could use Darnell Washington that we haven't seen in the past that maybe we could this year.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen it in training camp. We saw him do some of that so far. So I don't think that's far-fetched at all.
Mentioned Brandin Echols in terms of like the role that he was playing today at training camp as well, and some shifting around there, actually seeing him go inside. I'll be honest, like if you were to ask me who am I most impressed with based off expectation before, if you were to say like OTAs, let's just start with that, or free agency, whenever they signed him. From that standpoint, from that date to right now, who am I most impressed with? He's probably at the top of that list, just like based off what my expectation was for this guy. And it's interesting because we're not even talking about the guy that's like starting with everybody else that's been added, obviously within that group. But man, I would not feel bad at all if Brandin Echols had to take on a decent amount of snaps this year.
It's like the dime DB, and he's like really good. It's silly. We got a question about this actually that's kind of interesting. Hopefully I can find it while I'm talking here, but he has completely exceeded my expectations in terms of his ability outside corner. I looked at him and thought, and talked to people from the Jets who thought, yeah, he's probably better off being a slot guy. I think he's been great outside. So I'm really curious to see how he goes on the inside. Because if he's better, like for what I was hearing was like the idea from Jets people was that they kind of always thought he would be better to be an inside corner. They just never got to a place where they wanted to make that move. The team needed the depth at the outside. If he's better as an inside corner, he's a really, really good slot corner.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't find the thought, the question.
Did it mention his name specifically?
Yeah, I thought it did, but I just searched for it and I didn't see it. But the gist of it was, should the Steelers, because they are so deep at
I found
corner,
it here from Lathan Miller. Yeah, I found it.
Okay.
Question: given the depth at cornerback, wouldn't it be better to pull special team members from that side of the ball as opposed to using wide receiver spots, given our lack of depth position?
Yeah, it's an interesting thought, right? Because, usually guys at the bottom of the roster at those positions are being evaluated partially on their ability to compete in those areas and partially on special teams. There are guys that don't, right? Like Rock Taylor, not going to be a special teamer. Robert Woods, he goes in the punt return line, God bless him, but not going to be a special teamer. Corner, I think, they're probably all special teamers except for the starters, but so to a little bit lesser extent. But the idea, okay, if they're very deep at corner, not that deep at wide receiver, then maybe does wide receiver not become, do you not need a special teams wide receiver? I think you can make that argument, but they've already signed Eckles and Skoranek to 2-year deals. So, those guys are already on the team. They just don't cut players on 2-year contracts. I mean, maybe they could try to trade one of them. I don't know, but, I can't recall them signing a player to a 2-year deal and then cutting them instantly. It just does not happen. So, those guys are already on the team. And if Skoranek's already on the team, I mean, I guess the argument would be Rock Taylor over Scotty Miller. I guess it's Robert Woods over Scotty Miller because you don't need the special teams because you have Eckles, Trice, Beanie, Pierre. You're getting good special teams no matter what from that side of things. But I think Scotty Miller's been a better wide receiver than all the rest of those guys. So, the guy who has special teams value in this case has also been the best wide receiver. So, I don't know really how that lines up.
Kind of plays into something that I saw from a Berg sports fan. This was actually before the preseason game, but I think that he's somebody that wanted to watch obviously Rock Taylor and even obviously the shout that I gave to Keyshawn Williams, which we can come back to because I should acknowledge that one thing I called did not happen. But he asked if we felt like there was a legit chance for those guys to actually even make the roster if they're just pretty much practice squad locks. Do we see a way that they actually push somebody within the top 5 or 6 off?
It's not impossible. They probably need someone to
Do they need it to be 6 and them not make an outside addition though?
Or somebody to get banged up. Oh, or Calvin Austin just to not come back. He still didn't practice today. Is dealing with an injury. Mike Tomlin said he thought he would be back to practice soon and has not been. So, I mean, I would be surprised. I would be shocked at this point if we see Calvin Austin, who's not yet practiced once in the preseason. I don't think we've heard anything that does not put him on track to be there ready for week 1. But should that happen, if this injury continues, I think that's a way you get one of those guys on the team. Yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it probably requires either an injury or they can find a way to keep 6 without adding someone else to get one of those guys on. And even then, then they're going to have to outplay Robert Woods, which, again, is possible, but is not a sure thing either.
Just popped in my mind, and this isn't related, but we're talking about Calvin Austin. Obviously, we're talking about this preseason game, and Roman Wilson popped in my head. And I mentioned on the post-game show how I love the way that they opened up with him on that crosser on the first play, and that's how they got it to him. Do they still operate the same way from the aspect of an opening game script for the preseason, or no?
Not for the opening game of the preseason, no.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty quick answer to my question. All right. There was another one. Oh, I said I have to acknowledge being wrong about something. And it's because my guy Zach here, great first name, brought up Y.A. Black in his comment, and I predicted that he would have at least one batted ball in this preseason game. That did not happen in his 10 snaps. But actually looked, he got a Baldy's breakdown video already, which is a great start to his preseason for Y.A. Black. Only played 10 snaps. I thought, he's actually showed a little bit more as a pass rusher than I thought. I thought the only way that he would impact the passing game at all would be if he is deflecting passes, but he showed a little something there. Zach said, so this is for Zach, not Alan. I think a while back it may have been that you guys said that Derek Harmon more or less going to be a Stephon Tuitt replacement or Stephon Tuitt to Cam. But the more I see of Y.A. Black, he kind of reminds me of him as well. Is Harmon the future Cam and Black the future Tuitt? These dudes could be the combo on that line for the next 10 plus years, in my opinion.
I got to see a lot more from Y.A. Black in pass rush before I'm willing to put him.
10 snaps in the preseason wasn't enough?
Within 1,000 miles of that conversation.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right now, Y.A. Black is like Chris Hoke. With respect to Hokie, that's a backup defensive tackle right now. We'll see if he becomes more than that. And I'm not closing the book by any stretch of the imagination on that happening. But I think that's a large amount of projection from here to there.
Can you speak to, though, have you had any conversations with people inside that building if there is a growing buzz about him? Obviously, they liked him enough to pick him in the 5th round, but it kind of seems like maybe there's at least some people there that feel oh, maybe there's more here than what we thought.
I think they're very excited about his run-stopping ability.
Sure.
And what that means for the defense as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't necessarily make him that, it's trying to think of Landon Roberts, okay? Not an objectively valuable player, right? No one's out there oh my God, the Raiders got a Landon Roberts. They're going to the Super Bowl now, but played a very important role on the Steelers team the last 2 years. I think Y.A. Black, very similarly, while he may not become an objectively great defensive lineman, I think will provide a significant value to this team in very specific circumstances where they struggled last year, especially. It's one thing to have a Landon Roberts. It's another thing to have a Landon Roberts and to add a player like that when it plugs right into the thing you were struggling last year, which was how to deal with the Baltimore Ravens when they have an extra gap because of Lamar Jackson and they're running heavy personnel. What do you need? You need a freaking giant tank of a nose tackle or a defensive lineman who can 2-gap. It doesn't matter if he plays nose tackle or not. We've talked about that before. In Y.A. Black. And so I think there's real enthusiasm about the player that he is right now and how that role can fit with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I've not heard anyone think he's Stephon Tuitt yet, but we'll see.
Well, I think that's the thing for me is just what he's good at right now, I think can return the value of what they invested into him. It's just, man, the world of possibilities that could open up if he does develop a little bit of a pass rush. If he does offer something there, other than just obviously, like we've talked about, he's getting his hands on a ton of balls at the line of scrimmage, which should obviously be an asset within itself. So certainly excited about that prospect. Certainly somebody that I'm excited, a lot more excited, I will say now, based off just how things have gone here early for him in training camp through the rest of the preseason and to see what the role is in the regular season. Somebody else that we wanted to shine some light on towards the end of, maybe last week we talked about a little bit, but he got brought up and I was like, hey, we got to shine some light on him because I don't know how much we're going to talk about him. Well, as it turns out, based off that first preseason game, a lot more. Dookie wants to know about Hurleman. I thought Hurleman was an athlete. Could we sneak him on as the fourth running back, even though he's playing primarily receiver, and end up him unseating Trey Sermon?
Yeah, Hurleman is an athlete. He was a running back for most of his college career. That's his sort of natural position. I'll use the words that everybody loves.
It's not left tackle.
Yeah, no, it's not left tackle. My God, Smitty, can you believe they're playing him outside of his natural position? He's mostly played slot wide receiver for the Steelers. I think if he has a chance to make an impact at the NFL, that is the role. I mean, is it super stereotypical to say that the white guy has to be Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, Chris Hogan? I don't know, but like, I know that Tom Brady would have found a way to throw for 300 yards just to him against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think.
Does he have a lacrosse background?
No, but he went to Notre Dame though, so like, and Colgate before that, so like it just everything fits. He's adjusting to a position that he's never played before. He was a running back. He did play a little bit of receivers last year, Colgate, and then played corner on the scout team for Notre Dame last year, but never actually played except for being a punt gunner and a punt returner. And I think he's an athlete. His primary role is going to be special teams almost no matter what. But I do think there is something there in him. I think they'd probably love to get him to the practice squad. That's just my gut feeling about what the team would want to do here. I don't think they're in any rush with this particular project. I think they have something. This one, I'll tell you what, most of the time when a guy goes out there in that third preseason game and like has a big game, everyone's like, oh yeah, he's finding a way to make an impact in that last one. If Max Hurleman doesn't play very much in the third preseason game, that'll actually be the team trying to hide him. Yeah. Like trying like, don't have this guy go off for 100 yards of touchdown so that we can get him through waivers and get him to the practice squad and work with him for a year. I think he's going to be an NFL player. And to say that about a guy who walked on to Colgate is insane. But
that's the thing for me. It's like, I understand the saying, like, hey, if you can play, they'll find you no matter where it is or what you're doing. But like, it's just insane to like, this is the testament to that, right? Like, how do you even find this guy to bring him in?
Yeah. Why I'm missing PA. So Pennsylvania native. He's got that. He's a hilarious guy too. He's got like some toughness to him. Super smart. Here you go. Also lettered in basketball, lacrosse, and track and field. 4-sport athlete. And why I'm missing. The lacrosse background tells. And it was a 2-year captain on basketball and lacrosse. Football might not even be his best sport.
The backflip in the end zone as well.
This guy's good, man. I don't know. I think they were going to try to get him through the practice squad just because it's like the easy way to go about things. When you're talking about a guy with that sort of position transition with 1 year of like he played 1 year of major conference football, but he didn't play anything other than punt team. Like, so really going all the way from Colgate to the NFL at a different position, I really think they'd be putting him in the best position to succeed, to kind of give him a redshirt year. And the easiest way to do that is on the practice squad. But we'll see how it goes. I'm not writing him off.
And I will not either. We got
also Maxwell Jason Hurleman, full government name. Okay. Maxwell.
Yeah, I think I was in already. I'm in now, more so. So Cam.
All I think of is Maxwell as the pig from the Geico commercial with the little pinwheels leaning out the window. Maxwell,
I should have seen it in a while. All right. Well, with Cam talking, we got to talk about Cam, but real quick, we can bring this up from Alex. This is more so of a reminder because I don't think that you would have an answer on this, but maybe we can ask Juan Thornhill about the tape. He said the wrist, forearm, elbow look pretty unique. Kind of reminds me of Mel Blount. Has anyone asked Thornhill why he wears it like that? I'm a big aesthetic guy, so I appreciate this question. I just don't know if we have the answer right now.
Well, what's very interesting is that I looked at a lot of pictures of Juan Thornhill, and he didn't always have that.
Oh.
He wore like the like sleeve from like here to here. You know what I'm talking about? Like sort of like a long forearm sleeve that still leaves some wrist before the gloves. It's Kansas City, and he also wore full long sleeves with Kansas City. And so it's a new look. I don't know if it's new this year. He wore it with the Browns last year, so it's not new this year. But at some point, that was like a conscious choice to be his look. So I really do want to find out about this, but I have not at this juncture been able to.
All right.
That's more of a when we get in the locker room question, because like guys are just hanging out, and I don't have to like, chase somebody across the practice field to go ask him about his wrist tape.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. I mentioned Cam talk, so we got to at least talk about Cam and bring that up. Spoke obviously about the contract stuff going on, wants to be valued, had the year that he did, was an all-pro, and he said when he negotiated the contract last year, he said he's coming back to the table if he's an all-pro, and said people kind of giggled about it. I'm sure he played with a chip on his shoulder last year. Due to that, well, here we are. He was an all-pro, looking for new money. We're in this situation. What are we doing? Where are we at?
I don't know, Smitty. I want your thoughts on this, because the fans are real up in arms about this, and I got to be honest. My read of it is that this is just Cam was in a very unique situation last year, in that he's a really good player, but he's coming off an injury and he's old, and so it was a weird contract situation. He signed a very friendly deal that gave both sides flexibility, and now he's utilizing that leverage that he has to get the team to give him a bonus when he was an all-pro. And I don't really understand why that has anyone upset. I got to be perfectly honest. Like, you can't say he didn't earn it. You can't argue that he's not going to be worth it, that they don't have it, because they do. And like that this sets some kind of bad precedent. Like, the bad precedent that if a star player takes a super team-friendly deal and then exceeds it, you'll go take care of him later. Like, what a horrible precedent to set, Smitty. Why would any team... I'm just mystified by this anger that just makes absolutely zero sense. That, of course, Cam Heyward once paid more than the 21st highest paid defensive tackle when he was literally an all-pro. Half as much as Chris Jones is making. Half.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's all completely valid. I'm not mystified by it, though, because I know who we are talking about, meaning Steelers fans online. And some of the words that you use there, unique. It was a different scenario, obviously. Like, there's not, 36-year-old defensive tackles playing at the level that Cam Heyward was, looking for a new deal a year later because of the way that they negotiated the previous one. I mean, I kind of expected this to be coming down the pipeline, and when it didn't leak earlier, I was like, okay, maybe it's not going to. But just knowing the way that it was structured with guaranteed money, I kind of expected that this was going to happen. So I'll say the only thing for me as a fan, it's just the only thing that I have really to gain from all this. And don't get me wrong, I'm pro player 100% of the time. Want him to get his money out of this. I want that to be the outcome. The only thing that I have to gain is Cam Heyward playing for the football team that I root for this year. And when there's like contention, regardless of how much there is, and he's making the social media posts and making these comments, I'm not going to say it leaves a bad taste in my mouth, but like, it just gets kind of annoying that it's even a discussion for me from a fan perspective. And I'm not blaming Cam. I'm not blaming the team or anything like that. I just, especially like as close to the season as we are getting, it's just, I don't care about it because it's not me, obviously. So I want this to be done. I want him to get more money this year, get whatever he wants. Same in the case of Chris Boswell, who we're not talked about as much because he didn't speak today, and have that be that. And then back to playing on, and they wouldn't be doing much anyway right now, but still, you get the point.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is like, it's not hurting anyone. Like, he would not be doing anything that he's not doing right now.
It's honestly like it's in again for somebody that is as online as I am. I know that this is very hypocritical of me to say. It's the social media stuff more than anything else for me, like the Instagram post. But like it's not unique to him or anything like that. I can't do it. I can't stay on the cryptic Instagram stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's. I mean, look. If the Steelers didn't want to be here, they could have guaranteed a second year of his contract.
Sure.
A player of his status could have demanded that. And, maybe they wouldn't have got a deal done. Maybe he'd be cashing an even bigger paycheck right now. I don't know. But I think people just need to get it through their head that the only part of an NFL contract that matters to literally anyone is the portion that is guaranteed. Like, this, honor the contract. So, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. No one in the league thinks that way. Teams don't think that way. The agents don't think that way. The players don't think that way. It is simply, it is written on dry erase board in invisible ink. Like, it's not real. It doesn't mean anything. No one is beholden to it.
And I mean, 100% agree. Don't get me wrong. I wouldn't even say this is me playing devil's advocate. Just, I know that some people have the viewpoint, like you said, of honoring the contract, right? If that's their opinion, that's their opinion. I don't agree with it, but that's their opinion. I just keep the same energy from the other side of that, from the organization side. Yeah. Like, you can't say the players
still have Cordell Patterson.
That's literally the example
right?
that I want.
If we're going to honor the contract, then the Steelers got to keep Cordell Patterson another year. Like, fair's fair.
Absolutely. So that's my biggest thing is I
understand people's frustration with the process because it's unnecessarily frustrating. Like, we could just have guaranteed contracts and then this wouldn't be an issue. Or there could be just more structure to this process. But like, this is what every player has to do to get paid. And the team could have just paid him in February when he asked too. Like, they're dragging their feet to make him, like, he makes the request. I don't think anyone thinks that's a request made in bad faith. I don't think anybody thinks he didn't earn it or isn't worth it. So, like, I don't understand why Cam gets crap for, the team. Where's the pressure on the team to get a deal done with your star player who absolutely earns it? I don't get it.
I'm putting you on the spot here. What's the resolution?
They will either move up a big portion of his money from next year into a signing bonus and put it in this year, or they will add some significant incentives to his contract for the next 2 years.
Because he doesn't want additional years added, right? I mean,
he did not say that he has. I don't think that he does. I think he'd be very happy with this year and next year. Sure. But for accounting purposes, see, that's why the other argument is like, why didn't you just sign a 1-year deal? Because the Steelers needed it to be a 3-year deal to get the signing bonus under the salary cap. So the team may actually need to add a year that he doesn't want to make the money work.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Good stuff. We'll see how that plays out. I actually had one more thing to bring up, but I will save it for tomorrow. It's not pressing or anything like that, but it will involve the audience. So I look forward to this because we're going to need a bunch of answers from that as well. Speaking of the audience, I know that we always mention the YouTube stuff, the subscribers here after you tell us where to find you and everything like that. We passed 16.4K. The way that we're growing lately has just been awesome. So we appreciate you guys. Over 400 new subscribers within the last month on the YouTube channel. So that's been awesome to see that growth over there. So thank you guys so much for liking, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. But Alan, go ahead and tell people they can find you.
Saunders _PGH on X, Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. PGH Steelers Now, the site's account, SteelersNow.com. Go there, read the word so I can get paid. Sign up for SN Plus. I've got a new feature that I just debuted this morning for SN Plus subscribers only. It's called Notes from the Road. I'm going to talk about stuff I gather on road trips just for SN Plus subscribers. That is going to be sort of a combination of football and travel blog at sometimes. Just stuff I hear, stuff I pick up. I feel like you get more of those tidbits when you're on the road. And so I do that sometimes when we're at the practice facility. We run that on Thursdays or Fridays, called that Southside Scoop. I'm going to do this for every road game, though, and we'll add this to the rotation there of stuff that the SN Plus subscribers get because they're awesome, and I have already pledged my undying love and affection for them. I may as well give them a few thousand words here and there from time to time, too. I forgot to update the shout out list. I'm now seeing if we have any new ones. No, nobody new. So same crew. We got to get some new names in there. So sign up for SN Plus. Go read this morning's column. It's actually really good. Talked about Cam Heyward. Talked about Mike Tomlin and his weird press conference. Talked about a really good Will Howard story that you're going to want to see, and some of my travel fun from Jacksonville. So check that out. Of course, anyone can subscribe, hit that bell for notifications here on the YouTube channel. This is going to be a very, very interesting number. 16,407, Smitty. 7.
Yeah.
Has any good Steelers player ever worn 7?
I was going to make the joke and say the number that Patrick Peterson would have liked to have worn.
There you go. There you go.
But yeah, obviously there's only one that comes to mind.
Well, there is one that I have here, and that is Pistol Pete Gonzalez wore number 9 for the Steelers in the late 90s after having a very...
Oh, wait. It's 9 now? Is that what you said?
7. I said 7.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Well, you said he wore number... you said... Never mind.
Oh, did I say 9?
I heard 7. You wrong.
Pistol Pete Gonzalez wore 7 for the Steelers in the late 90s. He played at Pitt before that. His son is now at Penn State, I believe, which is how old I am. His son goes by Peter Gonzalez. And I don't know what number he wears. So maybe if we have a Penn State fan in the a sicko Penn State fan, because I think he's like a redshirt freshman and probably doesn't play. What number Peter Gonzalez is at Penn State, but 84. Oh, there you go. There's a number with no connotations around here. Pete Gonzalez is mine. I literally cannot think of another one. That might be the only 2 that ever existed.
Yeah. Also, I don't think this was on a day where you were not here. Ashish left us a 5-star review on Apple, and he said, Smithy and Allen, I remember when you guys started the show, and it just felt like it happened so casually. It's now become the one Steelers podcast I make sure that I never miss. Keep up the great work. And I had to make it a point to, he said, the one Steelers podcast they never miss. So misses an episode of Locked On, who cares? But can't miss an episode of Afternoon Drive. Can't happen. So we appreciate that. Now he's gotten 2 shout-outs for leaving 1 5-star review. I just had to make sure you heard it, because I think that was on a day where you were not here.
Yeah.
So be like Ashish, leave us a 5-star review and subscribe over there. And like Alan said, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Here, just search Steelers Afternoon Drive. Do the same thing on TikTok, and then you'll find me everywhere. Zachary Smith, PGH, Saunders, and myself. Thanks for jumping in. Take another ride on the Steelers Afternoon Drive.